right, I am going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. Glad to have you with us today for our TATT chat. I'm Dean Hebel, the Executive Director of TATT at the Top, and I appreciate you being with us today for our TATT chat, focusing on criminal justice programs at Tri-County Technical College and North Greenville University. We'll start with that in a minute, but before we do, I want to thank our leadership level funding partners. You can see them recognized in the slide here. We appreciate all of their support, as well as our other partners who support TATT at the Top. So we greatly appreciate all of them. Just a note that our next TATT chat which will be our final one for the year, is coming up on December 8th, and that will feature the Upstate Mobility Alliance talking about mobility in the upstate region. So we're excited about that. With that, I am going to kick off the program by introducing our speakers. Excuse me, I've got a glitch. Okay, there we go. So in 2020, as we were all dealing with the pandemic, of course, there were a number of situations related to law enforcement and the community across the country, and a lot of discussions around police and use of force and appropriate actions and engagements and things of that nature. And here in the upstate, we are very fortunate. We have a lot of great law enforcement police departments and a lot of great community leaders. And under the guidance of our chair at the time, Terrence Roberts, who is also the mayor of the city of Anderson, we began an initiative called Creating a Safer Upstate. And we looked for the next few months. We had a discovery committee with about 60 people on it that looked at the relationship between law enforcement and communities and how we could build relationships and work together. So we have continued to do things in partnership with local communities and law enforcement and our education institutes and others to try to foster that collaboration and partnerships between law enforcement and the community. And so as part of that, we are always searching for great examples of how our communities are working on that element, on law enforcement and criminal justice, and building relationships and also engaging the next generation of law enforcement officers. That's one of the pieces that we've learned is a challenge, is getting people into the field, and especially to ensure that we have a diversity in our law enforcement that reflects our communities. So we have read recently great things happening at both Tri-County Tech and North Greenville. So we asked them if they would present to us today on the programs that they are working on. So first, I'm going to introduce Stacy Rollins. She is the Assistant Professor for Criminal Justice and Legal Studies and the Program Coordinator for Criminal Justice and Legal Studies at North Greenville University. So Stacy, thank you for being with us. And if you want to go ahead and share your screen, I think that will work.
All right, if you'll just bear with me while I make sure I can get my PowerPoint up, I'm happy to do so. So, as Dean said, we always hope to think that we have exciting things happening here at North Greenville. And how do I start my slideshow?
Go down to the.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. So at North Greenville, we like to think that we always have exciting things happening with our criminal justice and legal studies program. I like to think that it is always a work in progress, not only because we're trying to gather information from our former graduates, but also because we're learning from our community and those who are around us. So one of the things that is important to us is that we help our students understand the field of criminal justice and the world. We don't want to just take our students and teach them everything they need to know about criminal justice in a vacuum. We want to make sure that we are constantly addressing issues through the idea of you're going to go out into the world. So we found that our program really supports students who want to make a difference. And it's not just people who want to go into law enforcement, it is criminal justice and legal studies. So those who want to make a difference in the entire field. So that means we put a great emphasis on ethics. What does it mean to be a good police officer? What are the decisions that we make that will reflect well upon the department, upon ourselves? We also are focused on the idea of critical thinking. We want our students to be able to know what to do when they get into those situations that don't look exactly like their training told them. We want them to be able to use the skills and knowledge that they have to make good decisions when they are in those difficult situations that don't look exactly like everything that they were supposed to learn at the academy. And then lastly, one of our goals is to understand the overall role of criminal justice and legal studies in our government, because it is, as I mentioned before, a system, and students are going to have to learn how to work within that system. One thing that students love/hate is that we always have to talk about television falsehoods. We have to cover what is real, what isn't. I feel like I shatter every freshman's dream when they come to me and tell me they want to go into the FBI or they want to be on the BAU. And I have to explain to them that those are television shows. And even though those things are real, we don't get to do that as soon as we graduate from college. So we have a lot of fun in that, you know, students tell us what they watch on TV and then we tell them how it's all wrong sometimes. But just an important note too is that we take our position very seriously. You'll note in the picture that's on the slide, this is not a stock photo. This is one of our graduates who works in Washington, D.C., and this is a picture of her in full riot gear after the death of George Floyd. She was deployed, and the local newspaper took this picture, and so she sent it to us. We know that we're going to be putting students in difficult situations. We know that this is a field that has to be taken seriously. And so we want to make sure that students are best prepared for anything that comes their way and they have the tools they need to be successful. So we always want to make sure that we discuss that. Our program is not what we would consider a traditional criminal justice program. Our degree is a Bachelor of Arts degree. Most criminal justice degrees are Bachelor of Science. But what that means for us is that we just have some different aspects from what other programs have. So we put a focus on reading, writing, and critical thinking. We also have a language requirement for our students. We have found that our area becomes more and more diverse every time that we step outside of a sort of our light on the hill is what we call North Greenville. So the more time we spend in the community, the more we realize individuals are diverse and we need to be able to meet people where they are. So we do have our students complete languages as part of their degree. We also have a program that is criminal justice and legal studies. What that means is we've noticed that a lot of times students struggle when they go to the Criminal Justice Academy with those legal blocks. So we make sure that we address those topics in the classroom. So when they get to the academy, those areas are already reviewed. We want to make sure that our students are acting within the law, that they can interpret the law and understand how that works. So we make sure that we address that in the classroom. We also think that it's important not just to train individuals to be good police officers, but we add the legal studies to show students other opportunities. So we notice that when we talk about and legal studies, it opens the door to give students different opportunities to work as law clerks, to work as paralegals, to work with the Department of Social Services, victims advocates, all those positions that work closely with police departments to really get to know people. So those are sort of some of the aspects. Of course, North Greenville is a Christian university, so we do have Christ-centered education, which means that we focus on integrating a biblical worldview into all of our classes as well. As Dean mentioned, it's harder and harder to get young people interested in the field. They see something on TV and they think that's really cool, or they see things on TV and they think they're really bad. A lot of times we can see that the media can paint criminal justice in a negative light. So we want to encourage our students to engage in hands-on courses. Specifically, I've listed a few here: judicial process, principles of investigation. As concerns with use of force have arisen, we have developed a course that is specifically addressing the use of force spectrum. So students are given cases to read, they're given information on how the use of force spectrum works, and then we take them out into a local house that we have. We take them out into a field and we practice traffic stops with them. We have them practice clearing a room. So not only do they have the basic knowledge of, yeah, this is what it looks like on TV, here's how the law applies, but we actually want to work through them. Here's how this looks in real life. Here's what you need to do. It's not as fun as you thought it was when you have to make sure that you're checking all these other aspects. So that's one aspect of our curriculum that we're especially excited about, because we developed that course in response to people's concern about officers' inappropriate use of force. Our judicial process class specifically focuses on the court aspects of criminal justice. We have our students participate in a mock trial. We're very blessed that we have a great relationship with Greer Police Department and Travelers Rest Police Department. So we typically take students into their courtroom and we have them work through a mock trial. They are given a role either as a witness or an attorney. And so they are required to dress and present it in court as if it is a real mock trial. We also require them in that course to create a summary of a Supreme Court decision so that they, again, are familiar with the law and that they can start to be introduced to the idea of how the court system views the criminal justice system and what it's like to have that real life experience of sitting in a courtroom. Because you'll notice both of these here are beautiful rooms and they can be intimidating when a student walks into it for the first time. Everybody's favorite class is Principles of Investigations. Our students take time to work through all sorts of different aspects of a crime scene investigation. They do DNA collection, fingerprinting, footprint analysis, crime scene photos. Bite mark analysis is my least favorite because we use those circus peanuts and nobody likes those. But it does give you a good impression that you can go back and try and match up that bite mark analysis. So students really enjoy this course. Again, it's the idea of being hands-on and learning about not just, you know, we're going to go to this crime scene and we automatically know who the perpetrator is. We take the time, we process the evidence, and at the end of the course, students come in and we have a room that's been set aside as a crime scene. If it's been a good semester and we've had time to plan everything out in the best way, we'll have witnesses from our theater department who come in and pretend to be witnesses to the crime, and we gather information from them as well. But it's really just about giving students that opportunity to really see this is how it works in real life. Along that same line, we always try to encourage our students to participate in internships. We've created several community partnerships. We have a partnership with over 15 different local agencies that are open to our students to allow them to come in and participate in an internship. Students have to complete 60 hours on site as part of that. As I mentioned before, we've also partnered with Greer and Travelers Rest Police Departments. We take field trips. A group of our students actually just recently took a field trip to the Greenville County Detention Center, and so they got to see different aspects of what it's like to be a correction officer. We also participate in Greer's Cops for Tots program. Our students either donate $5 or bring a new or unused toy, and then they are allowed to run the Greer's physical ability test. So we want our students to be able to have the opportunity to realize, being a police officer requires that you think, but it also requires action. And so we wanted to get our students out there to have the opportunity to see how intense that physical ability course is. We also, the professors have challenged the students. If the students get a better score than we do, we typically give them a little extra credit. And we pretty much embarrass ourselves because it's a very difficult course. But it's a great connection. Greer PD comes out and supports us, so students have the opportunity to connect with police officers, make fun of their professors while they run. But we're also supporting a great cause in the Greer Cops for TATT. Lastly, as far as our community partnerships, we have a career fair every year on campus in February. We try to keep it between 12 and 15 agencies. And so they come onto campus, and it's really just an exciting opportunity for students to learn about other departments, make connections with others in the field, and get sort of that insider view. We are a small university, and students have a tendency to become connected to the professors, and it's really good for them to sort of have those outside voices who can also speak wisdom into their life. So we have an on-campus program and we have an online program, and we've recently, with our online program, partnered with Greenville County Sheriff's Office. And so we do offer a discount to anyone who is in law enforcement. Same kind of information as far as what we're trying to do, right? And an emphasis in those legal blocks of where we know people can struggle, and at the same time making those same connections. Online students are part of all of our on-campus activities and have the opportunity to participate in those as well. So just to brag for a minute about what some of our students are doing, we have students that are in all of the fields that are listed here. And you'll notice we're really excited and proud of our students who do go right into the criminal justice field and who work in those police departments. But we also have students who are working in other areas of the field. And that's a great focus for us because we want people to be able to understand, law enforcement officers aren't alone. They have support systems, and we want to be able to have students who are able to engage them and encourage them in all that they're doing. So our department chair is Dr. Nicholas Higgins, and I'm the program coordinator. We do have an Instagram page, and we like to post there about all of the sort of exciting things that we have happening on campus. We like to brag about our students and all that we're accomplishing. So we would love it if you wanted to give us a follow. And if you guys have any more questions about the program, I believe we'll have a time where you'll be free to ask that.
Great. Yes. Thank you, Stacy. And when Eddie is done, we'll have opportunity for questions to both of you. So next I'm going to introduce Eddie McCall. He is the program director and professor of criminal justice at Tri-County Technical College. And we have had the great fortune over the last year to partner with Tri-County on 3 in-person sessions connecting law enforcement and the community. And they've each been very different and each been very enlightening as we hear from community members and connect with law enforcement and how they interact and some of the joint concerns. And one of the things, Eddie, I remember from the last one that was especially a challenge and kind of fits into what Stacy has talked about, and then also I'm sure what you will talk about is the challenge of of encouraging folks to move into the field of law enforcement, given that the salary is not quite as robust as some others, much like a teacher, I would say. But I think you guys work really hard, as I know they do at North Greenville and other places, to encourage folks to move into the field. So Eddie, I'll let you kind of talk about what you guys are doing in the program at Tri-County, and then when you're done, we'll have a couple moments for questions for the two of you.
Okay, thank you, Dean. I appreciate that. Good afternoon, everyone. And Stacy, thanks for an awesome presentation. It is great to see that you guys are doing such great things over there at North Greenville as well. Unfortunately, I can't follow up with a PowerPoint like that, and it's not that I didn't want to. We are making some changes currently, as we always do with our program, and everything is not up to date, and I don't want to put any information out there that's not as correct, but A lot of the things that Stacy and them are doing at North Greenville, we still do that here, but I'm going to shift gears because we're a 2-year technical college. So our focus is a little different than what the 4-year universities are doing with criminal justice. So I will start out with saying with Tri-County Technical College, we have different what we call emphasis or tracks when you come into our program. Our program is a 66 credit hour applied associate and applied science degree, and we are kind of a non-traditional program. We still do lecture about 50% of the time, but we have developed about a 50% practical skill set application program as well. And I'll discuss some of the things that we do here as I go through talking about our program. But I talked about we have different emphasis or what we call tracks, because we understand that not everybody that comes in to take a criminal justice degree wants to be a police officer. So we shifted our focus on trying to accommodate those people that do not want to be police officers. So we divided out into different tracks of how this program will work. We have a generalist track, and that's for somebody that comes to us and says, you know, I want to work in the criminal justice field. I just don't know what I want to do in the field. So we put them in a generalist track to get them courses that kind of gets them settled into the program, kind of gives them time to map out a career path, so to speak, how they kind of want to pursue and what they want to do with their degree. One of the courses that we have is the Intro to Criminal Justice course. We do, that's one of our 3 HIPs, our high impact practices courses. And in that one, they have to do a cornerstone project and they have to develop a career plan. So they have to pick 2 career paths in criminal justice that they think they want to pursue. So we kind of get them thinking about the career path very early when they get to us, instead of waiting 2 years to try and figure out, you know, what do I want to do with this degree? So we try to get them on track for that. So in the generalist track, that's kind of what we do with those. Now, we also develop what's called a law enforcement operations emphasis. And this is for the student that comes to us and says, 100%, I want to be a law enforcement officer. I know this is what I want to do, whether it's a family history or they feel like it's their calling or their passion. And, you know, Stacy, I think alluded to this, that some students come to us with the CSI effect that, you know, they want to be a forensic scientist. And then again, I have to be like she and burst their bubble to go, well, what part of forensic science do you want to do? Do you want to be the person that wears the lab coat, that tests all the evidence and the drugs and things? Or do you want to be the person to go out there and, you know, scrape up the evidence, collect it, bag it, tag it, start a, you know, chain of custody? How do you want to proceed with that? Because they don't understand what forensics really means. So we have to get them set on the right track. But in the law enforcement operations, this person says, yes, I want to be a police officer. This is my goal. And so we develop that track with specific courses. So we don't use electives in those courses. We have a specific set number of classes and specific classes that they will take during the 2 years here to prepare them for the academy. And everything that we teach here hands-on is per the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy standards. So we model all of our classes after that. So just to give you an example of somebody that takes the law enforcement operations track, during the summer, they have to come at least one summer with us. During that summer, they will take CRJ 110, they will take CRJ 237 and 262. That is police patrol. It is defensive tactics that is taught to the academy standards by the academy curriculum. And then 262 is workshop. And in workshop, and I'm the one that designed that course. I'm the only one that's taught it so far, and we've been teaching it for 5 years now. Is the first component I've broken it up into 3 sections. The first section is I start out and I cover basic firearms with them. So I take them into the classroom for several weeks and we go over basic firearms. I go over safety, I go over field stripping, cleaning, taking them and putting them, and I'll talk about our force simulations lab in a minute. And then just going over shooting fundamentals, starting to get those fundamentals put in place. That's the first section of it. The second section is I take them out and do precision driving with them. I'm not fortunate enough to have a full-size driving track yet, a driving course, but maybe that's in the future. But I can do what's called precision driving with them, and that's basically shuffle steering, threshold braking, evasive maneuvers, off-road recovery, some things like that. It gets them out there, gets them in the patrol car, and it gets them to see kind of the dynamics of how that car works and how you control that in situations, backing procedures and things of that nature. And then the third component of the workshop class is I have been through the force science use of force analysis course. So I will actually take them through the use of force. I will go over the force continuum. I'll talk about the 1+1 rule. And then once we get them through that, we will take them over into the lab and we will actually put them on live scenarios. We do live scenarios and then we do a scenario through the simulator. So we do both. And we also do police patrol in the summer. We do high-risk traffic stops, we do DUI stops, we do daytime, nighttime. We let them see the world in a different light at night with lights flashing and people yelling at them and running from them and things like that. So we put them in kind of some real world scenarios to get them that experience of, you know, this is not what you see on TV. It don't always turn out the way it is on TV. So we spent about $300,000 about 5 years ago. And we have a force simulations lab located on our Pendleton campus, and that we use the Megit system. We have different weapon platforms, and the whole system is set up with just tons of different scenarios. We have active shooter, correctional scenarios, law enforcement scenarios, transport scenarios. So anything you can think of, we can put them into that scenario, and it gets them into the mindset of, if I'm put in this situation in real life, how should I respond to it? And we actually videotape these scenarios. We have a camera in the lab and we videotape them. And once we're done, we will go back and review and give them a critique and kind of show them, you know, here's some things that you did good. Here's some things that you did really bad. Here's where you maybe hesitated a little bit. And it just gives them a real insight on what this job entails and what they're going to face out there. And then lastly, we have a paralegal emphasis. And this is for students that decide they may want to work with an attorney's office, doing legal research, writing, case preparation, and things of that nature. Now, we do not have a full paralegal degree. This is not a paralegal degree. It is just an emphasis. Their degree is still in criminal justice, but they get 6 core legal classes. Then when they come through that program, that emphasis, if that's what they choose to do. So that's some of the things we do with our traditional degree program. We have those different emphases, like I said, to try and get students thinking that, and I've had students come in that change their mind halfway through their degree, or they may get toward the end and change their mind. I had talking about forensic science a while ago. I had a young lady several years ago who could have been a forensic scientist. She was dead set on it. But we took them on a field trip to Anderson County Detention Center, and they toured the facility. And then the captain of the detention center says, you know, do they have to write a paper or anything for this class? And I said, yes, they do at the end. And he said, well, I want to partner with you. He said, we're looking and trying to get a new jail. He said, I want your students to write up a presentation of what they thought was good about it, bad about it, what can be improved about it. And we want to use that when we go to county council and try to sales pitch that we need more space and a better facility. And I said, that's absolutely fine. And so I divided them up into teams, and they worked through that, and they presented that to the sheriff of Anderson County. And they actually used that when they went before county council to ask for funding to add on to their facility and build a better facility. One thing that came out of that is that young lady who wanted to be a forensic scientist the whole 2 years she was here, she is now a correctional officer. It changed her whole career path and her whole mindset just by getting out there and working through that project and seeing what goes on. So it changed her whole mindset. We pride ourselves on working with industry partners. I'm fortunate enough that I was in law enforcement for a long time. I've got a lot of connections in the field that I've worked with in our service area, the Tri-Counties, and we have great relationships with all of them. They're very accommodating to us. Dean's talked about the whole community relation thing and the outlook on law enforcement in these days and times, and kind of the disconnect that's happening with communities and law enforcement. I talked about a HIPS course earlier. We have 3 of them in our program. We have 101, 224, and CRJ 260, which is a capstone course. I was tasked with developing our 3rd HIPS, which is CRJ 224. That is our police community relations class. And when I put that HIPS class together, I didn't want to do the traditional, do some research, write a paper, present a PowerPoint. I wanted students to actually participate, and I created what's called a service learning project. So during that course, during that semester, they have to go out and they have to work 20 hours with one of our service partners. And that can be law enforcement, it can be private security, it can be nonprofits, it's whatever the student chooses. So we get them out there serving in the community, meeting people, learning how these agencies work, understanding, trying to get that community cohesion back together. So that's one of the things that we worked through. I actually piloted 2 sections of that last spring, and it went great. We had great success with it. I had multiple students that got job offers just by serving in the community with those agencies. They liked them that much. They liked their work ethic. They liked their professionalism. Stacy touched on ethics, and we're big on ethics and professionalism. We hold our students to a higher standard. We expect that out of them. And we don't bend on that part. We want them to be professionals, and they got multiple job offers from doing that. So something else that we worked on for several years at the state level and the academy level with the Criminal Justice Academy is we have now what's called the Police Pre-Academy Training Program. And this is where the academy allows us to teach the first 4 weeks of the Criminal Justice Academy. This is any state tech college that can do this, but right now there's only about 3 or 4 of us across the state that are actually doing this program. And that allows us to teach the first 4 weeks of the police academy. It is still a 14-week semester. We've had 1 cohort to come through of 8 students. All 8 of those students are now working in criminal justice. They are police officers now. They have been to the academy, they have graduated, and they are now working at agencies all over the upstate. So that was a huge success for us as well, to be able to teach the academy. And we go above and beyond. We don't just teach the 4 weeks. We don't just show the videos. We train them in a lot of other areas. They come out of that program from us being TASER certified, TATT med certified. I take them through an 8-hour DUI course. We take them through firearms. We take them through driving. We take them through defensive tactics. So they have a lot of other qualities and credentials that these agencies really like when they graduate our program. And I think that was why it was so successful with that first cohort, is all those extra trainings and certifications. Is that agency didn't have to do that for them. Once they got them on board, they were already ready to go, and they were very successful. We teach criminal law 1 and 2 here as well. So we take them through that. So when they get to the academy, they're not shell shocked. They know how to study. They've kind of already been through it with us. They know what probable cause is. They know what reasonable suspicion is. They can articulate that. So that makes them, again, more successful. We too have students that have graduated this program that they may not go on to a 4-year. They may decide to go on out and work in criminal justice at that point if they're at that age. And we've got students that are working all over the state of South Carolina right now, all the way from the coast to the Midlands to the upstate. And those students, they stay in touch with us. They let us know what's going on in their careers. We actually have multiple of them come back during the summer and do traffic stops with us, come in and do use of force scenarios with us. So it's really prepared them to be successful in this line of work. And we pride ourselves on being able to train our students and prepare them for that. And if we encourage them to go on and get the 4-year degree, we all know that agencies in this day and time put a lot of emphasis on education. They like to see that on resumes. And I encourage all of our students to go on to the 4-year and get that 4-year degree, because I know what it's done for me in my career, and I share those experiences with our students, and they can understand what it's going to do for them in their career moving forward. Trying to see if there's anything else I missed. I think I've covered about everything. Our CRJ 230 class, I know Greenville, North Greenville's got the forensics class. We don't really have time to expand that deep with it in our program. However, we do CRJ 230, which is criminal investigations, and I send our students to Anderson County Sheriff's Office for 12 hours. So they go out and do 12 hours with the forensics unit at Anderson County. I've had students that's been able to go to autopsies, crime scenes, assault scenes, and they really get a feel for what forensics is and how it works. So it's good to get them out there and let them work with the guys and girls that are doing this every day, and that is their job. So they get a big benefit from that. Obviously, our overall goal is student success. We pride ourselves on that. And I think one of the reasons that our program has done as well as it has is the background of the instructors that teach here, our law enforcement experience, legal experience, our instructor certifications, and things that we've done in our career. I think it just helps promote. We don't only teach from a book, but we teach from real world experience. We've been out there and done it, and we can share that with our students, and we can paint a picture of what this profession really is and what it does. But that is our overall goal, and we've done well with it, and we're going to continue to build on it.
So Eddie, if I can stop you there, and we'll ask a couple questions. Thank you so much for that overview, and you did fine without a PowerPoint. So a couple quick questions for you, and then one for both you and Stacy. The first one, Justine wants to know, and this fits well because our two resource updates are both about veterans. Do you and Stacy, maybe do you all as well specifically recruit veterans into your program?
I can say we've had multiple veterans come through our program. It is not uncommon for us. I still have several that are part of the program now that are getting ready to graduate. So we have had quite a few to come through the program. Absolutely.
And I'm curious, and then Stacy, I'll let you answer that question too. But I'm curious for Eddie. The technical college system, which is 60 years old, was specifically created to help with jobs for our manufacturing. And what is the history? How did law enforcement become part of the technical schools? Obviously it's much needed, but I'm not sure it fits exactly with the original intent of the technical colleges. So I'm just curious if you know kind of when that shifted and if there was a specific reason for it.
To my knowledge, we've had criminal justice here at Tri-County since the 90s. And so it's been a mainstay here for a long time. It's funny you kind of bring that up. When we were going through our presentations to the academy to bring on this police pre-academy training program, I'm not going to call the gentleman's name because I'm not going to point fingers, but there was one gentleman who leads the Law Enforcement Training Council. He made that very statement to us. He said, I think technical colleges do great for manufacturing. He said, but I don't think y'all do well with criminal justice. And I kind of had to just bite my tongue and walk out of the room, because I know exactly what we're doing for our profession. We're preparing students like no other in this day and time. So the whole shift, yes, manufacturing and computers, that's a big thing with technical college. But if you really look at what a technical college is designed to do, it is designed to give people a specific skill set and training to go out there and get a job and have a career and do that job efficiently and effectively. And that's what we're doing here. We are training future officers to go out there and be able to do this job efficiently and effectively. So I don't buy his argument that we are just solely manufacturing and computers. We are a hands-on profession, and I think that you're going to see that continue.
Well, and it's certainly, as we mentioned before, a field that needs a pipeline. So there are multiple ways to accomplish that. And if you'll notice, Stinson Ferguson has asked if you could put your email in the chat. Eddie, if you could do that while or Justine's already done that for you. But I have two questions for you, Stacy. One, first, do you all or have you had veterans in your program?
Yes, we have had several veterans in our program, and we specifically have made some adjustments to our online program and how it's offered to encourage veterans and others who have had experience within services such as veterans and other law enforcement, so that program is available to them as a non-traditional program, because we know a lot of times when our veterans are leaving the service that they kind of have a different path than what we expect for our traditional four-year students. It's actually interesting that you asked Eddie that question about criminal justice being within the technical school, because we have seen a shift in that when parents come or when we have students come, they want to say, well, criminal justice is going to be better at the two-year school. So we see a lot of the attitude of people think that, criminal justice is exactly where it should be in the two-year program. And obviously, through our presentations, I hope you see that there's room for both of them and how we can approach that with students to get them to the positions that they'd like to be in.
Oh, absolutely. So unfortunately, we're running out of time, but I do have one last question I wanted to ask, and Stacy, maybe you can take this as, so both of you alluded to kind of the dynamic over the last couple of years related to law enforcement and some of the incidents and things that have happened. I'm just curious, when you have conversations directly with your students, obviously they know about these things that have happened in other places, and yet they're still engaged or interested in this field. How much candor is there about, that's not going to be me, I have a different mindset? I mean, what is that kind of discussion around how your students who are in law, going to go in some element of law enforcement, how they want to act? Because I will tell you, in the 2 years that we've been working now with police departments and law enforcement, I have been amazingly impressed by the desire of basically everyone to be, a good partner with the community, and that, it really is, they understand the value of all and how important that is. So I'm just real curious. And again, I'm sorry we're running out of time, but I'm just curious what your students say about, kind of that dynamic and how they want to act when they're in that field.
Our students are very eager to be difference makers. I think a lot of what we've seen in the media, or how we have seen police portrayed, or incidents that have occurred, surprisingly, students don't come in and say, I'm going to do this better, or, those people are completely wrong. These students come in and they say, there's a problem here and I want to be a part of how we fix it. Eddie mentioned that his seniors come back, or his graduates come back and do traffic stops with them. We're very blessed to have the same experience. And I think that, to be in law enforcement, we all know that it takes a special type of person, someone who's willing to make sacrifices, someone who understands that it truly is a servant position. And we put a big emphasis on the idea of servant leadership. How can we serve this community but still be a leader? And we see those traits in our students. We see in them a desire not to come in and change the whole system because they have it all figured out, but they're seeing what's happening in our world and they want to change it. And really those conversations are, how do we stop this? How do we make a difference? And they're very open. I love when we get to bring what's happening, what they saw on the news, I'm sorry, what they saw on Snapchat. They don't watch the news, or what they saw on Twitter. You know, when they bring that into the classroom and we get to look at it and say, okay, this was a real person. Did this real person make a mistake? Is the system broken? And have those conversations. But they want to change the world. They want to be difference makers, and not in a way that they think they have it all figured out, but that they're here to try and ask those questions.
Great. Well, that is so critical. And again, Stacy and Eddie, both thank you very much for sharing. And I think, you know, the work you all are doing is critical today and for the future as it relates to the safety of our communities. I did want to mention to everyone, we have not put out the registration yet, but we will be having our last Beyond the Shield session for this year, which is a virtual workshop that we do 4 of every year on December 5th at 6 p.m. And we did this one last year in the evening because it's better for community folks. It is an open forum. Chief Hamby, who Stacy mentioned, they work with the Greer Police Department a lot. He's the chief of the Greer Police Department, leads that group for us and gets a number of sheriffs and chiefs to participate, and then it will be 90 minutes of an open dialogue, because transparency is so critical in that connection between law enforcement and the community. So we'll be sending out registration next week, and I encourage you, please join us on December 5th at 6 p.m. When we did this last year, we were all overwhelmed by just how awesome the conversation was. So I just wanted to put that date on your calendar. And then as we transition to our 2 resource updates, before we do that, very quickly, I would like to ask our TATT intern, Christina is here with us, and she has joined our team as an intern about 3 weeks ago and is doing a great job. But Christina, would you just introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Christina. I'm a senior at Eastside High School. I'm the new intern at TATT. I'd like to major in business, either at Clemson or USC, because I find it interesting to see how everything connects, and like what Ms. Rowland said, to serving to make a difference, and how people come together to make things run and work for a common goal. Which is why I'm here today, and thank you all again for having me.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Christina. And she's fortunately with us throughout the rest of the year, so school year. So we are very excited to have her. So I think everybody probably on this call knows what tomorrow is. It is certainly, I think, one of the most important days we have in our year, because while I think we as a community and as you know, citizens of this country recognize every day the importance of our military veterans and what they've done for us, 11/11 is a really important day as it recognizes not only the end of the First World War, but then now has become the day that we you know, purposefully make sure that we are saying thank you to our veterans. And so each year in November, we try to have resource updates or some participation by veterans groups in this program. And so I've got 2 quick updates, and sorry, time is going much faster for us today. But first, I want to introduce Nate from Upstate Warrior Solution, and Erica is going to put the articles, both organizations wrote articles for our e-newsletter that came out today. But Nate with Upstate Warrior Solutions, thank you so much for being with us. And please, if you could share a little bit about what you all are doing.
Sure, Dean. Really appreciate the opportunity. My name is Nate. I'm the Director of Community Engagement. As many of y'all know, we've been in this space for a while. This year, and actually this month, is our 10-year anniversary of trying to connect to vets here in the Upstate and assist them with whatever need they have. just to be brief, a few big updates that we have going on. In January, we'll be moving into our new space off Pelham Road, at the old SunTrust building right there across from Hatewood Hospital. That's roughly 40,000 square feet. It's fully leased out right now with tenants. So some of the big tenants that y'all might know of is Modern Real Estate, Veterans United Home Loan is moving their headquarters operation in, and the vet center. We're really excited about that space. It's going to allow us to connect to more vets, but really allow the client and the vet to come and get face-to-face interactions and 100% of the support they need, there in one spot. Again, on that same note, we are going to be a subtenant of the Spartanburg County Foundation, starting in roughly that same time frame, probably January, February of their new space in Spartanburg. Again, doubling in size there. We'll be able to stop sharing desks there in Spartanburg. We'll have a physical location where we can continue to serve vets there in Spartanburg. Two pieces from our program. One, in the past 3 months, we've expanded our support from solely military to expanded to some of that first responder support. One thing that we've kind of been surprised by is the level of need for law enforcement and firefighters who are coming to us looking for that next career, whether it's after 4 or 5 years, or even some guys that are retiring. They're just looking to make a change from the law enforcement field, and they're just not kind of sure what's out there. So really, a lot of the support that we're giving them is the same level of support that we are with guys getting out of the service. Some helping expand their network, and connecting them to some resume support. And then with that same note, we have created a new entrepreneur program that's led by Jack Sterling, who's a former SEAL, and really that's helping guys kind of flush out their ideas, connect them to mentors, and help kind of start that step-by-step track from going from working for someone else to starting their own business. So those are a few of the big program items that we have going on right now, here in the upstate. Again, I really appreciate the opportunity and the chance to talk to y'all today.
Great. Thank you so much, Nate. And as I said, the article about what Upstate Warrior Solution is doing is in the chat, so you can read about that. And then our other update is from Veteran One, Tyler Warren. And I know, Tyler, I talked to you yesterday and you were running in 40 different places. This is a big week for you all, obviously, with Veterans Day and everything. So I really appreciate you taking time to be with us. If you would share a little bit about what you guys are doing.
Sure. Thanks, Dean. And happy birthday, Nate. Marine Corps birthdays today. And Nate's a Marine vet. So good seeing you again, brother.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Thanks. Obviously, Eddie and Miss Rollins for all that you're doing. My dad served 22 years in the LAPD. I'm a criminal justice major. I apologize, I don't have video. If I go video, my service gets real bad where I'm at. So apologize, but I'm glad I got to catch the first part of this conference because, yeah, I'm a criminal justice major, Army veteran. And yeah, we started Veteran One. We started Veteran One 3 years ago tomorrow. And so
Wow.
we started on Veterans Day. There's a group of us, veterans, that realized that there was a big need for a proper transition to civilian employment. Whether you're a service member recently getting out or a veteran that is grossly underemployed. We've really tried to solve this employment problem. So what we're doing at Veteran One, and we're still in version 1, version 2 is going to roll out at the end of the year. We're an online platform. We pair cutting edge, technology, and it looks a lot like an Indeed, almost like an Indeed, but with almost an eHarmony component where we take all of the skills, experience, education from the veteran. We have a weighted algorithm that kind of takes all this information and recommends not only just the career, but a role inside of that career field. And then the employer comes to our system, they build a profile, they answer a few questions about their culture, they post a job, we pull that information and we recommend based on relevance to the employer a group of veterans that might be a good fit for them. So process is pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward, very intuitive. All veteran job seekers complete a detailed profile listing their experience, their training, education, and accomplishments. In addition to the profile, they complete a personality assessment that measures the veteran's strengths, motivations, natural behavior methods, and personality traits. I was actually at UWS at one point doing some part-time stuff and volunteer stuff when I was getting my MBA at Clemson, and realized that a lot of these veterans were getting out and they were all saying the same thing. I don't know what I can do and I don't know what I want to do. And so what we've taken is a deep dive into the veteran's personality so we can match not just their competencies with the job, but also their motivations to do the job. Because I could want to be an NFL linebacker all day, but you can Google me. I have no business being in the NFL. So we try to match those two things. And then we provide, recommendations to the veteran. So even if they walk away and never match with an employer, they're going to get a resume, a custom built resume, a template that they can edit, but we scrape and pull information that's relevant for who they are and what job they should pursue. And they're going to get an assessments results page that, like I said earlier, recommends, which is great for universities. I actually spoke with Jason Ross a couple months ago about how this is great for exiting veterans to pursue higher education, because our assessment recommends a career field in that, also a major. So instead of going in undeclared for a couple of years at NGU or one of the technical schools, right, we can get them way out in front and recommend a major to pursue. That way they can then use their major in the career field that is recommended. So we present this information to the employer as well, so to make sure it's a good cultural fit. One of the things that we want to deliver to the employer is a high quality product, and that this is always going to be free to the veteran. The employer's got to pay to get access to this great pool of talent, but the veteran's got to earn it, right? It's going to be free to the veteran, but they got to earn it. They got to take the assessment, they got to build a profile, and they got to interact with the employer. And so through this process, we think that we're going to resolve a lot of the high turnover rate with employers. So we present this information to the employer so they can better understand who they're interviewing. We've integrated with Zoom. We built an entire applicant tracking system on our platform, in-app chat, text, and email. So all the way up until the acceptance of an offer letter, that entire interaction can be done. We have all 50 states represented by veterans in our system. We have veterans exiting the military from Europe and Korea that are using our platform, interviewing with employers here stateside. And so we actually, as we were building this platform out, it was during COVID, and we were like, oh man, who's going to interview with Zoom? Well, everybody. So it's been a nice, the market has done a good thing for us in expediting the process of moving to a virtual platform. So like I said, the veteran gets a resume, they get the personality results page, in-depth look at who they are, better understand what culture they'd be a better fit for. And then the employers are going to pay a subscription model that's going to be based on the features and benefits that they require for their industry and the size of their enterprise. You can sign up for an account today, free of charge. Again, we're in development mode. Eddie, and obviously Ms. Rollins, you feel free to jump on veteran1.com, build a profile as an employer. Take a look at, we have over 3,000 veterans in our system right now. We're just getting started. So if you obviously have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to answer any questions or comments you might have.
Well, awesome. Thank you, Tyler. Really appreciate you sharing that. And again, the article from this past e-newsletter is in our in the chat here, and you can find it on the TATT at the Top website. So as we close out for this day before Veterans Day, I want to thank all of our speakers. Important topics, law enforcement and veterans support. You know, really great things happening, and we appreciate all of you. Just a quick reminder, our annual Celebrating Successes event is coming up next Wednesday on the 16th. If you have not already registered, there is registration in the chat. I hope you will plan on joining us. And then Justine also put the registration for the December 5th Beyond the Shield that I mentioned earlier in the chat as well. Then we will have our last TATT chat on December 8th with the topic being transportation and mobility. So again, with that, thank you all for being with us. Happy Veterans Day tomorrow. Thank you to all of you who have served our country. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the day and rest of the week.